there are agencies of the government, institutions saddled with these responsibilities. So whenever there is a breach in the security, destruction in the peace of a community, a society, a state, or by extension, the country, questions must be asked, why these kind of issues are not prevented, why they are not nipped in the bud, and what are the steps being taken on that. And the issue of security, especially in Nigeria, insecurity, think of that now, given it's just like insecurity is a global phenomenon, but then we're Nigerians, so we must talk about the Nigerian context of these issues from the north to the west, to the east and the south. There are, issues everywhere, just like any society. But when there is a pattern and it keeps repeating itself, it will make people of good conscience to say, what is going on? Where are we? How do we nip this in the bud? We acknowledge the issues and then provide solutions to them. And the issue of rampant killings in the plateau, just like it's happening in some part of the places, but it seems the dynamics of what is happening in the plateau, it's one that is, it can be maybe in a kind of way predicted. After some time, there are more raiders that come into communities and they have done that evil work again. When it happened in Bokos, some communities in Bokos local government in the Plateau State were ransacked and killings were done, burning of properties, livestock and all of those things. And these are some of the things we talk about this morning. And it happened. And, as of last night, there are conflicting figures, 40, 60. Some went as far as saying 80 bodies have been recovered. Some of them have been given mass burial, because of that wanton killing by these criminals. Whoever they are, they remain criminals. And, more than 1,000 persons displaced in last week's attack on Houthi, Manguna district of Bokos local government area of Plateau. And the village head of Houthi, Mr. Marine Aradong, said, he's when the secretary to the state government, Samuel Chateau, led other government officials on an assessment visit to the community on Sunday in Jos. And it has been reported. The state governor, Caleb Mutwang, described the recent attacks and killings in some part of the state as a coordinated crime sponsored by conflict merchants. That's the word of the governor. That's him there, Governor Mutwang. Said this has been coordinated crime sponsored by conflict merchants and not farmer-herder clashes. People should not confuse. The president, Bola Tinubu, has waded into the matter and say those that are involved in this will be punished. And some have said this dates back to decades and it's about land grabbing. Now, this morning we speak to somebody who knows, who is interested, has been on this issue of security, especially in another part of the country, especially in Plateau State and some other North Central states as well. The DG at the Heritage Center is a public affairs analyst, Dr. Kajan joining Jensons again this morning virtually. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. These are the issues. This is where we are. Scores of people have died when assailants, criminals went into communities, not just a street, not just a community, some part of a local government, killed, pillaged, destroyed, burnt people's properties. And many of the locals are saying this has always been happening. Now, the issue is, who are they? What do they want? There are different narratives from land grabbing. The governor even said they are mercenaries, they are marauders. But what do you think of these dastardly acts?
Well, thanks for the bringing up the issue. I would say that a lot of the leaders are not sincere. It's the same case. It has not changed. The Tinubu administration came in and it's had a different tone, and some of the people saw it and they just piped low. Nothing has stopped. The Fulani rage across the Sahel is still on. Check, and you will discover it's not only in Plateau. These things are all over the country. So you can see that it's like the cells have been recalibrated. They've been told that they can go back now into action. So what has the Tinubu administration done since it came to make sure that the land grabbing program of the Fulani militia men has been stopped? Nothing. Even the people who are kept inside their IDP camps, what measures have the government done to bring them back to their ancestral lands? None. And what you only saw was a lull in the activities of the militiamen because of the coming of a new government and the probably posting of new officers, because the most dangerous part of all this is President Buhari was able to make appointments of security officers who will coordinate, as General Danjuma said, who were colluding with these Fulani militiamen. They have not stopped. They only played a lull, a step to cool down the operations. And now that they think that we are forgotten about yesterday, they are back. Nothing has changed. And don't forget how this happened. There was fights in the neighboring West African countries, principally Central African Republic and Central Mali, where the Fulanis were driven away. Instead of President Buhari to do a policy to help these refugees like we did in 1974, when Israel invaded East Lebanon, we quartered Lebanese in Apapa, quartered some of them in Kanu, quartered some in Benin and other parts of the country. We specifically say they were refugees. When these Fulani refugees came during the Buhari administration, Buhari sought to spread them across Nigeria, pretending like they were Nigerians. And those who came in with guns are the ones who are now using those guns to commit to kidnapping. And then those who could be organized into militia were now organized into militia, and you saw what was happening in Benue until Abdullahi Bello Bodejo, who was the head of the Mieti Allah Kautohore, was arrested and then later given a negotiated release by the Tinubu administration. Good. That they did in the Benue-Nasarawa axis. What did they do in the Plateau axis? Who is it that they arrested? Who are the ones that were warned that if we see any problem in this axis, we'll come for you? That's what you have to ask yourself. So all they will do is to lie low, just as you've seen them doing.
All right,
yeah?
All right, Dr. Nonju. I want us to let us come back to this particular case now. The recent killings in Plateau State. The governor of the state, the executive governor, Governor Caleb Mustwang, has come out to say publicly that the recent killings has nothing to do with Fulani herdsmen. He said it has nothing to do with herdsmen. That is something else. That some people just,
true.
you know,
it has nothing to do with herdsmen.
No, that's what the governor said.
The killings have never had anything to do with herdsmen.
Oh,
these are militias who are purposed towards taking land. That's all.
Oh, okay, all right.
Nothing to do with herders.
Oh, okay, all right. That's number one.
Like farmers herders crisis, please.
Oh, okay.
Sake,
yeah, I just wanted to set that straight. All right.
You don't need to listen. I did a thesis on this. Okay, and I doubt if you find a Nigerian who's done more work on this over the past 12 years on this. I have been on this program when it started in 2010 in Central African Republic. I was with it when we achieved the peace agreement in Mali. I went to Mali. I went to Central Mali. I advised the Nigerian government. Buhari refused to do what I said, and he thought he could gain land. Well, as you can see, he has not been able to gain land. All those fraudulent maneuvers he put forward to try to gain land, Ruga, National Livestock Development Program, compounding of underground and surface water, and all those Ruga, everything Buhari did, don't forget, we didn't give them land. So since we didn't give them land legally, of course, Tinubu came and they lied low because they saw some arrests done here and there, and the army were told to do something. After the lull, they are back. All the killings are for land. Nothing has to do with farmer headers thing, please.
Oh, all right, Dr. Nonju. Okay, all right. That's number one. Number two, how would you assess the response of security agencies in this crisis? do you see any improvement to their response compared to past occurrences of this case? So how would you assess generally the response of Nigerian security agencies?
Improvement. I tell you, there is no improvement in the response of security services. Why? The other day, we then learned General Siga was kidnapped in Katsina. And what happened? A general in the army. Other generals and others had to open a crowdfunding WhatsApp forum to be able to raise money. So if a general in the army could be kidnapped and other generals will have to raise money for him to be released by kidnappers in Katsina, who then is safe? If members of the army are afraid and we have to crowdfund to get General Siga out of the place, who is safe? Because they are now enjoying the fruits of the evil seed sown by people like General Buratai. Buratai is Marigi in Borno. But Buratai swore his allegiance to Buhari, not to the constitution. And that's why he looked the other way for this Fulani militia people.
Doctor, these are huge allegations. The General Buratai you talked about, was the chief of army staff at some point. So his allegiance at that time, even till now, will be expected to be to the Nigerian constitution and the Nigerian people. But now you are still saying the origin of some of these issues dates back to the former president and the former chief of army staff and a particular tribe. Are we sure with that?
Well, I am not just calling names. I am trying to take you and your audience through the historical timelines. We know, it's raining. The rain is beating us. But I'm telling you, when it started beating us, it was during the time of Buhari. Buhari took that policy. Instead of treating this thing as we did in 1974 as a refugee problem, no, Buhari sought to now say that they can be everywhere. And that was when you saw people like Governor Bala Mohammed say, no, if you're a Fulani man from Tanzania, Zambia, or Mozambique, you are a Nigerian. What kind of nonsense is that? And the time I met him, I said, oh, but what's wrong like this? You're Jarawa man. Said, yeah, so why are you now preaching all this Fulani story? I then later found out he was doing all those acrobatics to be allowed a free ride to his second tenure. And that was that. So a lot of us leaders looked the other way when this thing was being sown. Now, as I'm telling you, look at the army, so consumed that a general in the army is who they're doing crowdfunding for. So if the army does crowdfunding to release General Siga, who is safe in the civil population?
All right, Dr. Nonju. Dr. Nonju, in this particular case, the recent killings in Plateau State, in your opinion, do you see any form of complicity, negligence on the parts of the security operatives, not just the army, the Nigerian Army Police? Do you see complicity, negligence, or inefficiency?
Yes, the word is negligence and inefficient. They are negligent and inefficient. Why? You have had a long history of this problem in the Plateau and Benue Basin. So what have you done? Yes, the people lied low as the Tinubu administration came and gave marching orders to security services. And that was why we were able to nip the escalation of crisis in Abuja in the bud, and then having some of those militia people run towards Kaduna, where they now committed that kidnap of young girls at the school in Biriningwari. Later on, after the president's interceding, they were now released. And then, before you knew it, El-Rufai was barred from being appointed because he was part and parcel of the security crisis when he was governor. And we have not come out of this. We have not.
Sorry to cut in.
Didn't do it in.
Sorry to cut in, Dr. Onuju. Are you saying there might be some form of complicity here?
Yes, 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 yes. Complicit politicians from the Fulani stock who are bent on resettling those refugees in Nigeria as Nigerians. That's why when you see the refugees back in places like in Edo State, in Delta, with the guns that Buhari allowed them to come into Nigeria with, then I start using those guns to do kidnapping. And when you see them trying to return back to the north with those guns, they are accosted. Nobody in Nigeria is allowed to carry an AK-47 if it's not for nefarious activities. So these problems will persist. today, with the economic downturn the way it is, those of them with guns that came into Nigeria with guns will always use those guns to do what you have now seen escalate in the South, kidnapping, escalate in the Middle Belt, the resurgence of ethnic cleansings for land. For land. That's what you have to ask yourself. What happened? Those leaders that the governor moved to and thought they have talked to, what did the security services do to keep a check on them? I'm aware. On the Nasarawa-Benue axis, Bello Bodejo was arrested again because he now went outside the boundaries of his release agreement. The release was, don't do anything like organizing the Fulani people anywhere. And Bello Bodejo is on paper legally from Bauchi State. What is he doing in Nasarawa and Benue axis? So whatever it is was organizing, whether he called it cattle fair, the authorities brought him in. And because of that bringing in, he comes his activities. What have they done in Plateau? They have to do these things. Security services must be proactive. They must keep their eyes on the ball. That's the essence of security. When things are fine, you don't need to make report. When things are bad, then you start making a report to explain to headquarters what happened, what didn't happen.
Yeah.
The security people are not only negligent, they are complicit. Because when an officer refuses to act, it is seen that he approves of the mayhem that's in front that will happen.
Yeah, many persons have been talking on this matter. The president, who is the commander-in-chief, has said, we will punish everyone who is, is culpable in this. The NSA spoke on the matter and said, we are going through tough times. There's no huribadu. Difficult times, but it's not going to be forever. The issue of security is for all of us. We all have to come together. Everyone has a role to play, but I think that communities, those who have been living together for years and decades, it's time for us to say enough is enough. Our security forces are doing well, but our communities can even do better. I think it's time to say enough is enough. He repeated himself. We have lost many people, but it's not exactly like the figures you see out there. But even one soul lost is a lot. Now, two questions for me. The NSA has said the communities need to do better. The question is how? What can they do in this matter? And number two, some of these issues, many of the residents will tell you it predates back to decades, and not just because you have said Buhari and Buhari all over. Buhari came in 2015 and he left in 2023. Some will tell you it has dated more, possibly 25, 30 years, and it's not just about issues of now. The NSA is saying enough is enough, but the security agents are doing well. Are they doing well at all? What happens to prevention? Because it didn't happen just in a community. And with this narrative of the NSA, do you think we are getting it? Are we identifying the issues? Because it's putting it now on the communities to say the communities must do better. How? And when you mentioned Buhari, Buhari came in 2015. These issues, run far back.
And well, the idea of settler colonialism runs far back, where people will come from any part of the world, come into a particular settlement, and now want to settle there and colonize the space, colonize the people, drive away the owners of the land. Yes, it's been historically a long thing, but only under the Buhari administration was it made an official policy of state that those settlers can travel from anywhere in the world, enter Nigeria, and colonize the space, even changing the name of the community that they have now colonized. That is true. It's historically been a problem in northern Nigeria. It was also a problem in Rhodesia. It was a problem in South Africa. It was a problem in Namibia. It was a problem in Zimbabwe. Did it stay? No, it didn't stay. Settler colonialism would not work in a place where the settlers do not have the numbers to completely wipe away through, dominate by wiping away the people that they met there. It happened in Australia, where they wiped away the indigenous people by killing them. It happened in Americas. You wipe away the indigenous people and take over the land. But where you now don't have number and you want to come settle in, and then the numbers are more than you can deal, especially in Nigeria, where we have a democracy, where it's a numbers-based game, then those settlers with that number will not sustain. These things are unsustainable. When Buhari was there, the settlers came in, took over the area, but keeping those areas and getting new areas like they got under Buhari is not possible in this day. That's what's going on. Settler colonialism has historically been going on in northern Nigeria, speeded up and became a policy of state under the Buhari administration. What I'm telling you is it is not sustainable.
All right.
It is not working. It's
all
not
right.
going to work. Yes, it didn't work in South Africa. It will not work here. It didn't work in Zimbabwe. It wouldn't work here. Take that.
All right, Dr. Noniju, well said. Now, a lot of people have lost their lives. I mean, in Plateau State, this has happened over and over again. This is one killing too many. I mean, houses destroyed, people losing their lives, and every time this happens, the government will come out and say enough is enough. We will arrest them, we will punish them. But so far, nothing concrete has been done. Dr. Noniju, in your opinion, as an expert, what practical steps can the government of Nigeria and, of course, the government of Plateau State take to prevent such occurrences? I mean, to stop this once and for all. What practical steps can be taken? That's number one. And number two, Dr. Noniju, just like my colleague asked you, I just wanted to draw you back to that. What do you think the people can do? What can the people do? The National Security Advisor said the people, I mean, should step up. What exactly does he expect the people to do in this case? And what practical steps do you expect the government to take?
Well, government on their own part need to punish people for bad behavior. If there are no consequences for bad behavior, they will be repeated. And that's why you're having a repeat of this crisis go on in the north and across the country too. As for what the NSA, the DGSSS said, that is the right thing. That's why you saw most communities now have their vigilante. If the vigilante is there to protect their community, you don't need the police. You don't need to start calling government people that may want to react to you in politically calculated manner. No, those who want to keep their job, maybe the man on top of him has a different view about settler colonialism, and then from what he has, he would be tempered in the way he reacts. But the indigenous people, the local militiamen are the first line of defense. Whether you like it or not, before someone comes to help you, that person must see that you've also erected your first line of defense.
But hold on. But hold on, Dr. Noniju, you are talking about the local vigilante now, but for them to function well, they need funds, they need arms, they need training. They have to be well trained and well armed for them to function well.
That's not true. You're lying.
No, you are saying the vigilante shouldn't be well trained and armed to function well?
Listen, hold on. Stop talking about those. Those are the jargons that people throw about when they don't want to do their work.
Oh, how do you mean?
Because I have vigilantes in my community, and I know what this is. You have men who, based on emotion, want to protect their land. They come together, and that honesty about protecting the fatherland is the number one thing that trains you, that drags your mind, that shapes your thoughts in regards to that job. Once you want to do the job, the other ones you're talking about are when you're talking about other strategic, tactical, security issues. Yeah, but the issue about locally protecting the neighborhood, historically across the world, it's always been shown that local people do better than people from outside, because the number one thing you use in such business is intelligence. The local man has better intelligence about the people walking around his locality than any new officer you bring from heaven or wherever.
All right, Dr. Noniju. Yes. All right, Dr. Noniju. I understand the fact that the willingness to do the job, like you said, is paramount. But again, I just want to get you clear on that statement. Are you saying categorically that they do not necessarily require to be well-trained and well-armed for them to function well? That's my question.
They will be well-trained. That is the second stanza. Let them gather first and be doing their job, and with time, you will give them periodic training. Not everybody. You take some few leaders amongst them. I'm telling you from height occurred in my village. It's not everybody. You take one or two of the leaders, send him to a training camp. He goes there, imbibes the new ways, brings it back, and starts implementing, and others will learn from him. That's how it is done. You don't have to pack the whole village to go and say you're doing training. No. When you now get about 12 or 20 vigilante men, you can take one or two of them
to a training
center where they are trained. And when you train them, they come back. As they come back, The other remaining 12 and 10 are still doing the job. He comes back, he brings the new ideas, he starts sharing it with them. That's how these things grow. Not that you move the whole community to say you're going to do training. It doesn't work that way.
Is an ongoing.
Let them gather.
All right, this is an ongoing conversation actually, because it was bogus just 2-3 days ago. Who knows where we'll be next? We hope it doesn't happen, but then it's not by hoping, it's by doing what is necessary. We must thank you for coming on board today, Dr. Kachi on this issue that has to do with everyone, just like the NSA said. But then there are more persons who have more jobs, categorical, cut-out jobs to do, and we hope they do that job as well. Thank you, sir, for coming up.
Thank you very much for having me.
We appreciate you. And we'll go on a break right now. Well, when we come back, we'll switch gears, and then we'll bring it back home, the things that has to do with you and I. These great and virtuous state of the living spring. The conversation about us, about you, is next. Stay with us.